Hello and welcome back to another episode of Alter Your Health Live, your source of information and inspiration to promote the holistic transformation of your health and the health of our planet. I'm your host, Dr. Benjamin Alter.
I'm your co-host, Dr. Susanna Alter.
And we are coming at you today from sunny San Diego. We're overlooking the San Diego Bay. I'm on the patio of my Uncle Bill's house. Thank you, Uncle Bill. This is where we're going to be eating Thanksgiving dinner tonight. And it is Thanksgiving, and it is the day of gratitude. And I think we all have so much to be grateful for. And I just love this holiday.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got us thinking about gratitude, of course. And I think that's a good place to have our focus, at least for a day, right?
Right. And so today we're also going to be talking about acceptance, which everyone talks about gratitude on Thanksgiving, which is great. Gratitude is such an amazing feeling and place to be in. Oh, we've got a little background music. Gosh, I mean, the physical benefits of gratitude is like a whole nother conversation in itself that we could embark on. But today we really wanted to focus on acceptance because honestly, a lot of people for Thanksgiving, they go home and spend time with their family. And there's a great Ram Dass quote that Ben's stepfather reminded us of yesterday. And how's that quote go?
If you think you're enlightened, go home for the holidays.
Yeah, go home for Thanksgiving.
Or go home for Thanksgiving or the holidays or whichever holiday you do go home for.
Yeah, and so we realized like for some families, family time is just magical and wonderful and totally harmonious. For other people, it can bring up some emotions. It can bring up some tension, and it can be challenging for some people. And that's what inspired us to really speak to acceptance today.
Right. Yeah, Susanna just brought up the topic of acceptance. It was like, what are we going to talk about today? And I thought, well, gratitude's a little bit cliche on a day like today, even though, we can't get enough gratitude. But she brought up acceptance. And then I realized, acceptance is like the prerequisite to gratitude. And what I mean by that is it's really hard to be grateful for something that you can't accept. So I think acceptance just naturally leads the way into a feeling of gratitude. And like we kind of touched on already, gratitude is the feeling in the body that corresponds with the most health benefits.
Mm-hmm.
Gratitude brings the physiology into a state of complete peace and coherence. And the reason why that is because it really encapsulates a feeling of self-acceptance and self-love when we're just able to be grateful for what is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also acceptance of those around you and love for those around you, which I kind of want to dive into a little bit more. And maybe I'll ask you a question, Ben.
Okay.
So I'm curious, do you ever find yourself, having some challenging moments around your family?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're right back in the house. So you got to whisper.
Oh, yeah.
Just kidding. But yeah, I mean, Ram Dass says in his quote, you think you're enlightened, go home for the holidays. The reason why that's so relevant is because our families do bring about the richest opportunities to look closely at ourselves, our patterns, our way of being. And the reason why that is obviously we've grown up in this unit, and we obviously all have an individual path and direction in our growth in our life. And my path is different than my sister's path. It's different than my mom or dad's path. And we go and live our path, and then we come back as a unit, and it's like, on some sense, nothing has changed. We're still a unit, and we reflect everything back at each other and where we're at along our individual paths. And And it's really just an opportunity to reflect and to accept and to just acknowledge where we're at in our individual journeys and how our family can be of service to our growth and evolution. I think I didn't answer the question that you asked, but
Well, no, but I think you brought up this really wonderful idea from a lot of spiritual perspectives that souls come into this world, and when they do so, they actually choose the parents that that they're born to, and in choosing the parents comes with this entire kind of set of lessons. It just sets you up for you're going to experience certain things throughout that life based on being in this family, and that set of lessons is like what you're meant to live in this episode of Earth School.
That's right. Yeah, the family really sets the curriculum in this here Earth School. And so, yeah, I mean, my family, sure, they're great. Like, can't say enough about how much I love my family. And certainly just in being with them for 12 hours, it's, so much is reflected. And, I don't need to get into all of that. But
No.
I think the point of the matter is that I can feel myself being very accepting, and it doesn't necessarily have a direct impact on how I act. I think acceptance doesn't really have an action correlated with it. Acceptance can be a very kind of,
it's an inner
inert
process.
It's an inner process.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. And so, I mean, this week has been a joy for me because I just enjoy Ben's family a lot, and I don't feel the whole familial, patterns and tensions or whatever, may come up.
She's an outside observer.
Yes,
She's just watching this show.
I just get to enjoy it all. But it doesn't mean that I still experience moments of judgment throughout my day. For example, I might be very not accepting of the way that the traffic is, or the way that my hair is, or whatever it is, and how wrapped up I get in that is really up to me. And what I mean by that is, I guess I've been reflecting a lot on this idea of acceptance and surrender. And so when I feel myself really just wishing things were a different way, I notice that the feeling inside my body is one of tightness and constriction, and just like everything. Oh, there's that beautiful music behind us.
Yeah, we're accepting that.
I'm accepting that right
I don't
now.
know if you guys can hear it, but it's not as peaceful on this deck as I initially thought.
Yeah. But I mean, that feeling of constriction, it really, it's really a downer on the day. It's really not fun to be moving through the day in this state of like, things should be different. Because ultimately, like, who gets to decide what, how things play out? Like, I feel like in a moment when I'm like, oh, I wish the traffic was different and it's totally ruining my day and this is happening to me, and I create myself as this victim in my story. It's like, how does that serve me in any way? Like, who do I think I am that I should know better about how something plays out in life?
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, we all have a little bit of a God complex in us. This idea that we know what's right for everything and everyone, and this illusion of control, and this addiction to that illusion of control. And it's like, if anything strays out of what should be, then that is the opportunity to accept what is. And it's funny because I'm just realizing, like, on one level, we shouldn't even have to accept things. It's like we should just, if we didn't have attachments to outcomes, then there would be no need for acceptance. If we were just living in a way that was totally unattached, like the Buddha, You know, I'm sure he didn't even have to practice acceptance because he never was judging what was happening. Obviously, I don't know, but it's like when we latch on, that's not a bad thing. That's what I'm, pointing to and realizing is when we latch on and judge things and think things should be one way or another. We don't have to beat ourselves up for that. We don't have to call it a bad thing, and we don't have to, criticize ourselves or anything else in the process. But what we can do is in that moment of awareness and insight, we can simply accept what is. And it's like, wow, yeah, the traffic sucks right now. and I apologize to myself for judging things as being ugly and awful and slow, and it's okay. And then it can just be like gone. It can just be the end, period, until the next traffic jam.
Yeah, and I feel like what comes with acceptance for me is also trust, and just trusting that things are the way they are for a reason, and I may not know what that reason is right now, but that's okay because I trust. Or also just trusting and knowing that, I guess, trusting in the divine perfection of all of those around me.
Right.
So, why is so and so acting that way, or she's making me feel this way when she says this, and why can't they just be different? It's like, wait, actually,
why can't I just be accepting? It's the real question.
Well, yeah, and it goes back to this idea of just trusting, like, and knowing, oh my gosh, everyone, even in my family, is this divine spiritual being living a human experience just like I am, and their unique personality and the way that they behave is, it's part of who they are. It's part of their journey, and I don't need to let it affect me. I can just love them for, who they are and how they act, and yeah, that's just like what acceptance feels like to me.
Totally.
But I think what also comes up with this idea of acceptance for a lot of people is this worry around, like, but, what about the things that really aren't okay? Like, if I just accept everything, then that means people will walk over me like a doormat, or, that people will take advantage of me, or, really I won't be standing up for myself.
There's a difference between acceptance and being complacent or being a doormat.
Yeah.
We can be accepting to all of the things in the world that we can't control, and we can be very much in our integrity and stand up very strongly for the things that are meaningful and important to us. And we don't have to waver that or surrender that to accept everything else that's out of our control in the world. For example, I think a great one is, even murder or, heinous crimes that, people commit daily in our world today. We can be accepting of the crime and of what happened and just be at peace with that. But we can have a real knowing in ourselves that is, not okay. It's like we can draw the line within ourselves, but then we can be forgiving outside of ourselves and be compassionate to all that's happening and accepting to all that's happening, but really stand strong knowing that I don't stand for this. I don't stand for this. And yet I'm not going to hang on to that as being a wrong, negative, bad thing, because really all that does is keep things tense and stuck. And I think that the magical keys to unlocking the change and transformation that we're all really kind of seeking and moving for is being radically accepting of everything that's happening that's crazy and really challenging to accept. If we can be accepting but also be strong in ourselves, it's a fine balance that I think we can all master a little bit more so.
Yeah. Yeah, and an idea I've been really exploring has also been this idea of boundaries, which I feel like goes hand in hand with, acceptance, but also taking a stand. Yeah, because it may sound like, oh, if I'm just accepting of so and so's behavior, like, where's the boundary? Where's the boundary where I'm saying, okay, this is as far as you can go, but no farther. And I heard recently one of our teachers explain boundaries in a totally different, radical way that I'm very much exploring within myself. And it's coming from a situation. Here, let me start that sentence over. When we find ourselves in situations where usually we're having to set boundaries, there's usually, along with that feeling of needing to set a boundary, is this feeling of not being safe or feeling threatened. And what our teacher was saying is, the more you are connected with that trust and that knowing and the seeing in other people this innocence and purity within them, you realize that actually many times boundaries aren't needed. That's a whole idea or concept we just build in our head. But I mean, we could go into this whole deeper metaphysical topic of how there's, separation is actually just illusion, and I am Ben and Ben am I, and I am the murderer over there and he is I, whatever.
Yeah, we all have these aspects in ourselves.
But she was saying, when it comes down to it, when it comes to an actual situation in your life where your physical safety is threatened, you will know how to respond. You will know, you won't have to think about it or plan ahead and set boundaries ahead of time to protect yourself. You'll know you are connected with this well of inherent wisdom that will tell you exactly how to act in any given situation, any given circumstance. And, you may, if you find yourself in a similar situation twice, it might, what comes up in your inspiration, how to act, it might be completely different depending on the situation. You don't have to plan ahead of what you're going to do. And I don't know why I thought to go off on that whole tangent, but I guess reeling it back to this idea of acceptance, I don't know, I just thought it was relevant.
It is relevant, because we do live in this world of separation. And what's coming to me is we can accept the separateness or the illusion of separateness, and in doing so we can come closer together. It's not creating more boundaries, keep creating more separation, creating more right and wrong, creating more duality. We can just embrace it all. And I think that what we can maybe wrap up with is just this idea of being unconditionally grateful. And I think, it's acceptance is not, in our conversation at least, it's not we're choosing to be acceptant of that person but not acceptant of that situation over there, or we're not accepting of what he's doing but that traffic jam is okay. What we're talking about here is being radically acceptant to life and to all that's unfolding for us. And with that comes this feeling of unconditional gratitude for all that is. It's not that I'm grateful for this dinner on Thanksgiving. It's not that I'm grateful for family. It's not that I'm grateful for the trees and the sky and the air and the sun. But it's I'm grateful for life, and I'm grateful for this existence. I'm grateful for all of these opportunities and just how it builds and gives life and provides opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah. That good?
That's good.
So we're sending you off today with a lot of love and gratitude for you and for all, and hope that you're able to touch into your infinite potential of gratitude and love that resides in you always, and hope you're able to use this day as a remembrance of that's always present, and hopefully you can avoid the craziness of Black Friday.
Yeah.
And we love you and bless you, and until next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.